Welcome to Elevated Voices Podcast, where we value using our voice collectively to explore life challenges, including mental health, addiction, trauma, and ways to heal. With our voice, we empower, encourage, and transform lives. I'm your host, Dysheka Bibbs, a certified trauma-focused therapist, licensed clinical social worker, and licensed certified addiction specialist. As you listen, ask questions, and enjoy the show, remember this podcast is not a substitute for a therapeutic relationship with a licensed mental health professional. As we embark on this journey together, let's elevate our voice to echo the sound for the voiceless. Welcome. Today's guest wears multiple hats, from being a pastor, an advocate, to a clinician. He has a unique ability to meet people where they are by providing culturally competent interventions to assist clients with their emotional challenges. He obtained his undergrad degree from Winston-Salem State University in psychology in 2008. And he earned his master's degree from the Joint Masters of Social Work program from North Carolina A&T State University in 2015. He is currently a clinical social worker at North Carolina A&T State University and the founder of the Cypher. Elevated Voices Podcast would like to give a beatboxing welcome to Andrew Watkins.
That introduction was bananas. Shout out to you, Dysheka.
Thank you.
That was super dope.
Thank you. I try.
I see.
So tell us a little bit more about the Cypher and why you created it.
Yeah, so the Cypher, the short answer is the Cypher is a psychoeducational support group that engages folks in conversations about basic mental health concepts, but connects it to different elements of hip hop. So we analyze lyrics, listen to music. We talk about the artist and the context of the songs that the artists produce. And then we identify mental health themes that are embedded within just the culture of hip hop in general. The Cypher started out as just a support group. And since then, it's grown more into a training company where I provide training opportunities for clinicians, as well as folks in the community who do similar work to learn how to implement the elements of hip hop into whatever work that they do. And then I provide some consulting where I may partner with a school system or clinicians in different companies to really explore ways that they can incorporate hip hop into the services that they provide. So that's basically what the Cypher is.
That's dope. But why hip hop out of all the genres of music? Why hip hop?
So I grew up in a musical family, started out in church, where my moms and them had the family choir, as many Black families in the South particularly grew up with. Over time, though, my cousins exposed me to hip hop, spoken word, and then I also had another cousin that was really, really heavy into like alternative rock. So Jimi Hendrix and folks like that. So I was drawn to just so many different areas of music, developed a love for hip hop as a young boy, started rapping, freestyling and doing all of that all the way back in middle school. Passion continued to grow even up until college. And although I was interested in psychology, I always wanted to figure out a way to incorporate my passion for music and for hip hop into the work that I did. I was always particularly drawn to the artists that had more substance in their content. So the Commons and the Talib Kweli's and the roots. And what I was always interested in was that the fact that they were talking about mental health issues. And so over time, it just made sense to marry my skill set as a clinician with the content in hip hop that really explored mental health issues and substance abuse issues within the minds of the rappers that I was interested in. And so I jumped in and it's became a thing up until now.
So when you created the Cypher, were you targeting the African American community?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I knew that the African American community, as well as the Latino community, founded the genre in the South Bronx in the early 70s. Although it has spread throughout the world and has become a global phenomenon, I knew that I would be able to serve people in the Black and Brown community more effectively because of how I grew up and the fact that there was a large portion of the Black community that was just as passionate about hip hop. So I felt like it would appeal to folks from the community in a way that could bridge the gap that, is oftentimes seen within the Black community where folks aren't as trusting or open to mental health services. So I felt like using hip hop would be a way to draw folks in to participate in the services more.
Definitely. And I have to agree with you because one of the things that you said is that you meet people where they are, no matter who they are. And if music is one of the ways to get to them and to meet them where they are, then you do so. I mean, as clinicians, we have to pull all type of tricks out of our bags to get our clients engaged. The stigma that surrounds mental health for, our African American communities and our people of color, that stigma is very deep. It's almost like an open wound when you talk about it. So I think that the Cypher and what you created in that platform is awesome. So I just want to give you kudos for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been it's been a blessing. It went from just something that I thought about in undergrad to now my own small business and really seeing how receptive people have been to it it's just been crazy.
Right. I know you say that you do trainings with other clinicians, other agencies. How are non-people of color being receptive to the Cypher?
It's been a combination of people really, really buying in that's outside of the Black and Brown community, or folks being a bit hesitant to engage with the work that I do.
Okay.
I did a training for UNC School of Social Work last year and partnering with their field coordinator, I believe was her title. When we started talking about the training that I was going to provide, she was concerned. She didn't want to misappropriate the genre because of, just her whiteness and her ignorance to the art form. She was familiar with hip hop, but she didn't want to mishandle. And she also wanted to be mindful about the rest of the clinicians and the students that will be on the call to make sure that they wouldn't mishandle it as well. And so that's definitely been a part of the conversation and stuff that I've done where folks are like, Andrew, I really am interested in your work, but I don't want to mishandle it. And so I've had to incorporate more conversation in my presentations about what cultural appropriation looks like, how to properly utilize elements of hip hop in your work as a white clinician. It's really giving folks the opportunity to just expand their thinking and grow. Although it may be a bit uncomfortable for folks, that discomfort is good because it allows us to step out of our comfort zone and become better clinicians.
Definitely. And I appreciate you sharing that story with us, because being a clinician and having individuals come in who are brown skin, dark skin, you have to, again, be able to make that connection in order to work and be effective in that therapeutic process with that individual. And
Right.
so your project that you have, the Cypher, does just that, but it also challenged us as clinicians. And then most importantly, our clinicians who are out there who are of Caucasian descent, it allows them to step outside of their comfort zone. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that, I feel is good, because it pushes you to be, like you said, it pushes all of us to be a better clinician, but it gives our, Caucasian counterparts a little snippet of being able to see things in a different way, and
Right.
also give them a better understanding of the pain, the struggle, and even the trauma that comes
Mm-hmm.
from the African American or people of color community and their experiences, and
Yeah.
how they do what they do or why they do what they do.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not know or realize that music has been deeply rooted in the African American community and people of color community for years,
Yeah.
even dating back to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
They used to do what they call a call and answer,
Yep.
and how they actually used music and lyrics and song to actually travel through the Underground Railroad and get to,
Mm-hmm.
from the South to the North.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, music is integral to the Black experience. There's no question about it. Not only in America, but beyond. A lot of the principles that Black folks during slavery adopted, as far as music is concerned, was directly connected to their African experience. So the drums and even the call and response, the dance, all of these things were just at the heart of what it meant to be Black, and still is today. And that's why I think it's super unique to be able to use the Cypher or just hip hop in general. It does connect with things that are just very important to people's lives. Like, you can remember songs from your childhood that are still very special to you, that are associated with great experiences, that are associated with great people, that has played a role in lifting your spirits. You may have been going through a difficult time in life, and you were able to tap in to a track, tap into a verse. I remember the first time that I presented at the NASW conference in 2019, and I opened it up by allowing folks to come up to the mic and to just rap whatever verse they remember, they had memorized. And I had a couple folks come up. One particular was a white lady. She came up and she rapped just the opening verse of a classic hip hop song. I like big butts and I cannot lie. Right.
Okay.
It was definitely, I was not expecting that from this lady, but the reaction that it caused within the crowd was so like organic and powerful. Here's this middle-aged white woman saying the lyrics of this song. And regardless of if you love the song, if you hate the song, like, that moment will forever be like imprinted on those folks' minds. They will be able to connect
Right.
with the music in a way that's deeper than just the lyric. And that's why I think hip hop is so powerful in music in general, because it allows us to connect to so many different aspects of what makes us human. It's a beautiful thing.
Just to piggyback off of what you said with the training that you also gave another training in 2021. Actually, yeah, 2021. You gave another conference, and the lyrics that you used were the bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
and you did an awesome job with that, and how you played his lyrics and you broke it down. these lyrics actually translate into symptoms. What are these
Right.
a symptom of? And literally
Mm-hmm.
it was PTSD without even
Yeah.
saying, hey, this is PTSD. He was rapping all of the symptoms, the classic symptoms of PTSD.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Right.
I think that hip hop has a very unique way of expression therapy for individuals, again, to go back and write their experiences out. And I know we do that a
Mm-hmm.
lot as being clinicians. We tell people, hey, get a journal and write your thoughts out, write it out. And I look at these lyrics as their journals of the journey of their lives, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It does. It does. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's expressed in a way that's very relevant, culturally relevant for them and for the people in their communities. We could come to a session and we can talk about all of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, and we could talk about some of the different interventions, whether it be journaling, whether it be DBT, whether it be CBT, identifying effective coping strategies, so on and so forth. If there's no connection with that person, then all of that fancy therapy talk means nothing.
Nothing.
It makes us feel like we're doing our job, but it's not creating a space for healing with that person that we're working with. But when we can walk through the lyrics of Lil Baby's song and talk about how, man, sometimes I just feel afraid to go outside because of some of the instances of police brutality that have happened to people of color.
Right.
Like, man, I got to carry a strap around to make sure that I'm protected and my family protected, because I just never know what may happen. These are ways to engage folks in conversations that's still in alignment with symptoms of a disorder or a diagnosis that we may be considering. We just got to figure out a different way to talk about it that will connect to our client's experience. And I think hip hop, as you said, it gives us a unique opportunity to make those connections, which
Right.
will allow folks to experience a more quality therapeutic moment. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And you pointed out two great things, which is, of course, connectivity and being able to meet that person where they are again, and just being able to have that relationship, because again, we
Mm-hmm.
know that without that relationship, therapy can't progress. And it's like,
Right.
hey, I'm wasting my time, the client wasting their time. But then you also pointed out of the lyrics that you use
Mm-hmm.
are also raising not only mental health awareness, but also the social injustice that we are currently experiencing now, and I'm not saying that this is something new, because it's not
Mm-hmm.
something new, but it gives it a different lens,
Right.
and now people are slowly starting to realize that, hey, you know what? The things that are going on are not right. The whole, Black Lives Matter movement, the whole police brutality, it's been going on for years and years and years, but
Mm-hmm.
no one has created this space for us to take real action and
Yeah.
get down to the root of the problem, which is
Mm-hmm.
our laws, which is the way that things have been institutionalized for so long. Again, the Cypher and the whole concept behind it is awesome. I think it's awesome. It's beyond amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that you talked a little bit about being a clinician and
Mm-hmm.
your passion for that, but you weren't always a clinician. You actually started
Mm-mm.
off in ministry. So how did you make that switch over?
After I graduated from Winston State in 2008, I jumped into youth ministry. My pastor at the time was a new pastor, 5 years older than me, brought a lot of energy to the ministry, which drew a lot of families. And so with our influx in teens, he asked me to teach a class for our teens. And that the teaching of that class eventually led to me becoming a youth pastor. I served in that position for like 10 years. Youth ministry exposed me to the lives of the young people that we were serving at my church. But around the same time that I started youth pastoring, I got my first clinical job as an intensive in-home clinician, where I was working with kids in the juvenile justice system. So my work in ministry was directly connected to my work in intensive in-home, because it was really just building relationships with young people and with families.
Yeah.
So, but ministry was always something that I had been exposed to even before I got into leadership. I grew up in the church. In fact, the church that I serve at now, that I was serving at when I was a youth pastor, is a church I've been at all my life. I'm homegrown, and it's been a really, really amazing experience.
It sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly feel like your work in ministry, it was almost like, it paved the way, like you said, going into mental health. But was mental health always a passion of yours? Did you want to go into mental health, or did you like accidentally stumble on, hey, this is what it is?
So when I was in high school, I felt like I was a good listener. I thought that was a skill that I had. So because I couldn't think of nothing else to major in, I thought psychology would be the best move for me, because I knew that people had to listen pretty good. That was my goal, was to be in therapy in some way, shape, or form. I just didn't know the specifics of it during undergrad, and even during a good portion after I graduated. Working in intensive, it's just a different type of therapy. Definitely not your traditional therapy approach. So I kind of interpreted that position as more of an advocate, a community advocate, than your traditional therapy. But interesting thing about ministry, particularly being a pastor, is the access that you have to people, the vulnerability that folks will show to you in your relationship. And because of that vulnerability, your ability to influence the way that their mind works and the way that they manage the stress that they're experiencing. As I was getting deeper and deeper into ministry and deeper into the scripture, I was also making connections to the work that I could do as a clinician. Being a good clinician requires us to be able to build strong relationships with people. Rapport is the number one quality to build in order to have an effective therapeutic relationship with a client. And ministry taught me how to connect with people. And then after establishing that connection, using my newfound clinical skill set to help people reroute the way that their mind operates whenever they're triggered for whatever reason.
Right. And I think that is an amazing skill set to have, that combination of experience with ministry and mental health. Just like you said, you need to be able to understand people, but not just understand them. Again, make that connection. And I know that the word connection we have used so many times, but it's important.
Right.
You have to be able to do so. And people are seeking individuals who understand. Even if you don't have the same experiences they have, but if you understand where I'm coming from, showing that you understand and having that empathy and can relate to them, then honestly, like, the sky is the limit. And I think that for a long time in the mental health field, there were only Caucasians at one point. And just recently, we've seen the shift in having more people of color actually provide clinical services. And I actually think that's amazing. You want to be able to also speak to someone who look like you, and, again, who may share some of those experiences that you do, or truly understand where you come from. In your experience as a clinician, do you feel using the Cypher in your work is more effective than traditional therapy?
I don't think it's necessarily more effective because it really depends on the person that you're working with. I think the better question or thought for us to consider is how can we use interventions like the Cypher? How can we use art forms like hip hop to enhance what we've come to believe is traditional therapy? I think that's probably a bigger
Right.
issue within the field is that we've been boxed in and confined by what we've been taught is the most effective approach to therapy. And let's be honest, therapy,
Right.
particularly in America and Western society, was created by white men. The DSM is written
Right.
by, or it was originally written by white clinicians. The interventions and techniques that we're taught, by and large, were like founded by white folks. That ain't no shot to my white brothers and sisters that may be listening to this podcast. That's just a reality. And because of their experiences, particularly the founders of modern therapy in America, because of their experiences, because of their biases, whatever the case may have been, that has heavily influenced what we've come to believe is traditional and the most effective way of conducting therapy. Well, now we know better. Because we know better, it's incumbent of us as clinicians to start to disrupt the status quo that has been established within the field and to really bring our voices to the table, bring our skills to the table so we can dismantle what was traditional therapy and create something that's fresh, that's new, and that's really going to be able to create some change amongst the people that we work with. And now is the best time to do that with the disruption that quarantine and COVID-19 has brought, and just the craziness of 2020 in general, and bleeding into 2021. Now people are like knocking down the doors to come to therapy.
Yeah.
It makes it that much more important for us to be ready to provide them with what's the most quality stuff. So whether it's the Cypher, whatever your passion, whatever your skill set is, use that to have a better connection with the people that you serve.
Definitely. What you said is absolutely true. And being able to step outside of our comfort zone, try new things, get creative to reach the individuals that we serve, it is a must. It is a must. And one of the things you said was being able to bring our voices to the table. So can you share any positive words for individuals who may be listening to this podcast, who may be on the fence about receiving mental health services?
Yes. Life is rough. It's harder when we are doing it alone. As challenging as it may be, my encouragement for you is to connect with a clinician. There's so many opportunities to do that. You don't even at this point got to leave outside of your house. As long as you got internet, computer, or a phone, there's great therapists out there that are providing services virtually. I would suggest that you get connected with a therapist and really lean into your support system, people around you that want to see you thrive and to flourish. So that would be my positive words. I know it's rough, but it's harder alone. So connect with someone that can walk with you as you go through these challenging situations that we're facing.
Thank you. And listeners, you have heard it directly from Mr. the King of Cypher himself. So our listeners want to learn a little bit more about you, to see what you're about, to check out the Cypher, to get a training, or just to ask you questions. How can they reach you?
So you could catch me on andrewwatkins.net. That will give you access to what's going on, how you can contact me, you can learn more about the Cypher or just more about me as an individual. I'm pretty active on social media platforms. So you can find me on Instagram. I am Pastor Drew, all lowercase, and that will give you access to my Instagram account. On Facebook, you could just look up Andrew Watkins. And if you want to just shoot me an email, info@andrewwatkins.net, and we could chop it up that way as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for coming out and sharing these positive words of encouragement with us. Elevated Voices Podcast was honored to have you in the building on the show. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Shout out to Elevated Voices Podcast. Listen, if y'all ain't subscribed yet, y'all need to get on it. Dysheka is putting out amazing, crazy content for not only clinicians, but for people in general. So make sure y'all subscribe, y'all leave a rating, give her a 5-star, because she coming with some powerful, powerful stuff. So thank you. I'm honored to be able to share the stage with such an esteemed clinician as yourself. And definitely you have my prayers and the work that you're doing moving forward.
Thank you so much. That's an honor. Thank you for tuning in to Elevated Voices Podcast, where we enjoy using our voice to share information which promotes growth and change. Never feel like you are alone. Join our Elevated Voices Podcast community at elevatedvoices_ on both Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned to bi-weekly episodes wherever you get your podcast. If there is a topic that you would like me to cover, or if you have questions, you can send me an email via my Elevated Voices Podcast Facebook page. And remember, don't forget to let your voice be heard.